Hey Sign fam, this is Grant Freking, Associate Editor of Signs of the Times, and welcome to the 2020 Makers of Tomorrow interviews. With me today I have River Prince of Prince Sign Company in Ellisville, Mississippi. Welcome, River. And also I have Simon Nussbaum of Green Dot Sign in St. Paul, Minnesota. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today. Now, our 5 makers were originally honored earlier this year through our various print, online, digital, and social media platforms. And we were supposed to honor them in person at the ISA Sign Expo in March. Obviously, the global pandemic got in the way of that, and so we have pivoted to this format to sort of get you reacquainted with our makers, perhaps learn some new information, and also just have a nice conversation about sign making. So first, gentlemen, I have to appease the marketing department and ask you to show off the physical awards that we were able to do for the first time this year, and we're very happy to send those out to you guys. You're very deserving winners. Thanks very much. Marketing will be pleased. And my first question will go to you, Simon. We'd be remiss if we didn't start by talking about the pandemic and how it's affected everyone, whether personally, professionally, in some shape or form. So tell me how Green Dot is sort of coping with COVID.
It has definitely not been easy, and we're still trying to find our rhythm coming out of it. So, we actually had a really good April with booked business, but by the second half of April, all the new inquiries just completely dried up. So we're kind of clawing our way back up, I guess.
Okay. And do you have any reasons for optimism, pessimism there? I mean, it's hard to know, obviously, and there are very little economic indicators for a once in 100-year pandemic flu, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is we're all just going to get through this year, and that once next year hits and we start to see good news, I feel like it's going to be able to build from there.
Mm-hmm.
But until there's a vaccine and until people feel comfortable, like in our case with buildings, not a lot of people are pulling the trigger until they can really know.
Sure.
Unless they've got their funding set up beforehand. So, yeah, we're kind of caught in the middle. So I feel like we're in limbo.
Right. And River, I know you had actually recently moved the physical location of your shop as well. So tell us how that's gone, and then also any sort of your adventures with COVID so far.
As far as COVID goes, I agree with Simon. You don't really know how to feel optimistic, pessimistic. I'm just sort of borderline. You can't lean either way. As far as the move go, I feel like it happened at the perfect time. It was right as everything was starting to go down. And the shop I have now is a bit more in a rural area. It's more of just fabrication, and it's just me, or if I have anyone else out, welders or anything. So it allows us to get work done away from people, so we can still produce. As far as things go, like installation, if we go paint signs or anything like that, we just take precautionary measures.
Right.
As I feel like as being professionals, we have to be the ones to show up, wear a mask. Can't complain about it. It may be hot, but I say it's protecting other people. And you definitely don't want to get it. I've had family recently that tested positive. So it's a tough thing. And you can say that you don't want to wear a mask and all of that, but until it hits you personally, it changes. So tough times, but I think we're dealing with it well. Thankfully, we do have business right now. So just taking it in stride and seeing what we can do.
Yeah, and then our hopes to your family member who has contracted COVID, obviously, that they get better as quickly as possible. Well, gentlemen, some of the people, since it's been such a long time, it's been 4 or 5 months since we did the profiles on you guys in the print magazine, sort of reacquaint readers with sort of the bread and butter of your shop, what you guys do, what you guys focus on, and then also maybe the full expansion of your shops. And I'll go ahead and start with you, River.
So originally we were a solely traditional like sign painting shop. We did everything traditionally. But in the past few months, and I'd say since I got the award, we've decided to sort of broaden what we do, and not necessarily a full service sign shop. And we still do practice like traditional sign making. But we now have a plasma cutter, a few welders that we run, MIG welders and all that, which is great in the sign world. It allows to do production on like channel letters and stuff like that. So we've started leaning into that, and a huge market sort of opened up for us because we have two larger sign shops, and we're able to offer a product that isn't as commercialized, and all. It just, I feel like, has sort of a charm to it. It's
Mhm.
unique in the way that we do it. We may not follow all the traditional, like modern sign making techniques, but it's all done right. I've also gone into electrical. We've had a few LED sign reps come out, and we're starting to do a few of those. Installed one recently, so really enjoying that, and finally getting going on a few neon jobs. So
Nice.
slowly but surely, I feel like some of the downtime has allowed us to sort of pick up a few new, sign types and all. So just sort of learning those and perfecting it before we're able to offer it to anyone.
Nice. Expanding pretty quickly there. And I guess we can take half credit since you said the timelines almost lined up with you guys expanding in the
It
profile.
really did.
Yeah, of
Like we had it in mind to sort of start doing that, and then
course.
I feel like it gave me that push to just be like, okay, we can be this. We can do these things. We're in the process of being licensed in all the cities that we work in. It's kind of individual license and all as far as electrical goes. Yeah, but it lines up perfect. And I feel like having that award gives you a little bit of clout. So at one of the bigger sign shops in the area, my buddy works there. And apparently they get signs at the Times Magazine. And a few guys around the shop are just talking, do you know about this guy in Ellisville? And they're in a nearby town. And I mean, they're a very big sign shop. So it was cool that they saw it and they were like, okay, this guy's, out here now. So
Yeah, they're on notice, man. You're putting them on notice. Now, Simon, your shop is extraordinarily unique, especially with the process in which you produce your signs. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so basically, prior to this company, I had a traditional sign business, and I'm sure both of you guys know, and most of the people listening, there's a lot of waste that goes into making signage, and kind of gradually I came to realize all the plastic is not biodegradable. So it's a beautiful custom sign, but there's a lot of ugly behind the sign that people don't see. So I spent about a year developing a process that kind of lets you 3D print directly to natural materials like wood or stone. So there's no machining involved. So it reduces plastic consumption by about 99%. Um, so with that as the core of, hey, I've got this idea, let's just try and do it. We found a lot of interest from architects and interior designers. We've kind of angled into the lead credit market through a few different ways that we can contribute to lead credits,
Sure.
and looking at some other frameworks as well. So it's kind of it's exciting. It's new. There's a sales process to it that's pretty long because it's something that's not out there in the market right now.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think we've all seen faux wood and faux stone signage. So let's just make it real. That's
Right.
my goal. And then after this, we have some other sustainable sign options that we're kind of validating right now. So exterior ADA signs, illuminated signage, dimensional letters, things like that.
Cool. Awesome. Now,
Very.
Simon, I can't remember if I asked you this during our interview, in the winter, but what made you originally want to get into sign making?
So I've always kind of been in the manufacturing world, and I wanted to be making things, and no matter what, even if you have the worst day at work, but you can look at it and you can say that was a beautiful sign, it's a good day, you know. So that's kind of what I love about it.
And River, when we talked, I know you had done some construction work, but tell us about how you sort of decided to found your own company, much like Simon did.
Yeah, I would say construction was my drive to make things. I was really like just like woodworking, and I was roofing at the time, so sort of different. But I learned some metal work along the way. In doing that, we would build like custom awnings and things like that. But I was also in school for graphic design, like sort of along the same timeline that I was working construction. And I knew that I really had an interest in signs and old signs specifically. So I just started, I guess, studying old books and found a few guys, signers specifically, and picked up a few trades and all. I went to a few workshops, and then from there I was like, this is definitely what I want to do. Like he said, at the end of the day, you make a sign, you look at it, you know, and it may have been a very strenuous day, but it's all worth it. It's really fun to do. I love what I do.
Yeah, and especially since you mentioned that you guys started off really in the sign painting sort of in that mold to start with, and you've seen plenty of pictures around you guys doing, you know, these big giant murals, and sort of stepping back and away from that work must be very gratifying. And
Yeah,
there's
it's
definitely
definitely, well, it's
sort
one of
of
my
a
favorite.
younger sign
Definitely.
painting movement going on in the industry, I would think, and it seems like you guys grabbed a hold of that as well.
Yeah, there definitely is, and I was inspired by that. I feel like it had an influence, but yeah, I feel like we sort of spearheaded it, got on at the right time, and really just pushed to do the best work that we could, and not just something that you could call sign painting. We really pushed to do it, you know, 100% correct. So I love it.
That's great. And then Simon, is your process by which you print your signs still patent pending, or have you been able to push that through?
Yeah, it's still patent pending. So the application's out there. I think they're saying next year we'll probably hear from the USPTO, and then there's back and forth and whatnot. So yeah, it's still good though. So
Nice. And River, I remember talking when we talked earlier this year that some of your passion also stemmed from witnessing, I think, and I can't remember if this was your term or my term that I used in the article, was sort of the lower quality signage you witnessed in neighboring towns around where you live and work. Does that sort of still drive you? Is that still happening, or is some of your work maybe up the quality of signage around you?
Definitely. It's not necessarily the sign shop I mentioned before. They're big and they do really quality work, but there are just a few that push mediocre work, and you can tell it's done really quickly. So that still drives me, just to be able to offer something that could last longer for a business, and also just has an aesthetic that's more pleasing, in my opinion, than just, you know, quick printed vinyl or plastic, anything like that. So yeah, it's definitely still drives me.
Sure. And Simon, are you still able, with what's going on right now, to adhere to a lot of the sustainability objectives and procedures that you set forth in your company?
yeah, you know, I think that there's even more interest in that, you know, during the pandemic. You know, sales might be a little bit down, but people are open to things that are new. And, you know, everybody knows that we all have kids and grandkids and things like that. So, you know, thinking about the future is key. So that's been the easy part of it, I'd say.
Right.
It's the core.
And as far as it's tough for me to ask you guys, you know, what does the future hold for you guys, because we're still in the middle of a pandemic. But as far as the future of sign making goes, perhaps in sort of a broad sense, what are sort of some of the trends you guys saw maybe pre-pandemic, and maybe things that can last after the pandemic, through the many hours you spend in your shop and dealing with, you know, various vendors, manufacturers, and that sort of thing? What sort of trends are you spotting?
For us, I would say neon in our area. No one's offering it currently at a local level. So I'm pushing really hard to, you know, be able to produce that in the near future. We do have pretty much a complete neon plant at our shop now. We bought from a larger sign shop. So we're really close to producing. It's just a matter of you know, being licensed to install something like that on an exterior sign. We do have one coming up towards the end of the year here for a new restaurant. So really excited about that. And it gives me hope knowing that, you know, they're actually starting the process now of, you know, building the building and all. So I know that's there. So it's really inspiring to just know that job is going to be there in a few months, and just pushes me to learn it even quicker than I am.
Right.
So I guess I have two answers to that question. You know, the first is printers and all these people who are kind of getting into the printing of signs and sort of the fast vinyl stuff. when there's people like River who's making a custom sign, that's where kind of like the real creativity is. And I think that there's always going to be demand, and you can see a lot of increased demand for things like gold lettering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's happening all across the country. And I don't think that's going to go away, because a sign lasts a long time. A physical sign does. So
Right.
I think that that's kind of a trend that maybe it's going to keep on continuing, but we're seeing a pushback to that already. And then I wanted to make the trend of having sustainable signage really be an option for the industry. So
Right.
hopefully other people follow suit and just start thinking about that as much as they can. And
You definitely have me thinking about it. It's very interesting. I'd love to know more about that.
we can talk later anytime.
Definitely.
You got my email, right?
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, as much as I'd like to extend this conversation for hours, I know both of you do have day jobs you have to get back to doing. So I'd like to thank both of you for joining me today. And stay tuned for part 2 of this series coming very soon. Thanks very much.